Hello and welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. And today I have a Canadian whiskey on the cask. It's a copper pot from Fourty Creek, or copper pot reserve. Yes, unfortunately, I have not been in the distillery of Fourty Creek. I've been at the distillery, but I've not been in the distillery. Yeah. My father was also there at the distillery, but not in the distillery. Unfortunately, it's hard to get into the Fourty Creek distillery. So I'm not quite sure how they produce, what they use, anything about that. I pretty much know what I've found about from the internet and a little bit of a background. The Fourty Creek distillery is not a very old and ancient distillery from 18th century or something like that. It was built in the 90s, and the 90s were kind of a bit the era where the whiskey industry went downhill. Yeah, it saw the fall of many big blend names, and that's when a new whiskey maker called, here it is, maybe you can see him on the action, see him here, okay, and that's the bottle, Fourty Creek Copper Pot whiskey, and his name is John K. Hall, and he opened the distillery and he wanted to do something different. He didn't want to be a big producer for the blends, so he was kind of a pioneer of these small distilleries and artisan distilleries and craftsmanship. And the thing is, it comes from Ontario, and it's near the Niagara Falls region, and there's a lot of wine from that region. So he comes a little bit from that background, I've heard. What would I say? Some with the wine. No, it doesn't say he comes from that background, but the region is from that background. And from that gesture, he's probably also involved in wine as well. So he brought some craftsmanship from the wines. All the fermenting is very similar and can be transferred to the whiskey industry. And he really brought up the distillery with much more quality and much more, craftsmanship than it usually is in the Canadian market. Is it good enough to compete with the Scotch? We don't know. But one thing, it's spelled whiskey, so it's they honor the Scotch heritage or the Scotch background, not the Irish. So they rather go with the Scottish background. Fourty Creek, 43% ABV, that's 86 proof, and doesn't carry an age statement. Although the thing is, if you have an age statement in Canada, it's not as restricted as in other countries, so you can't trust the age on the label, which is a bit of a pity, because there are some good Canadian producers that don't lie about the age. If they put the age statement on, the youngest whiskey is that age, but it would be allowed to do differently in Canada, because the alcohol and whiskey laws are not that strict as in other countries. Ooh, very, very sweet. With a lot of fruit and fresh fruit, tropical fruit, a little bit of a nuttiness, spiciness, but more push to the background. It's unusually intense for our Canadian whiskey, because usually know the Canadian whiskeys as mild, mellow, and just a bit of vanilla and caramel like a bourbon, but much more laid back. So this one is really an explosion of taste for a normal Canadian whiskey. So it's a bit more than a normal Canadian whiskey. Again, very fruity, but not as fruity as in the aroma. So the flavor is a bit more intense. It has a bit more fermented tones to the fruit, and a bit more spiciness, a bit more oak, a little bit more bitterness. So the fruitiness, bitterness that really gives you the impression of a marmalade, not the jam like a strawberry jam, but really an English orange marmalade or something like that. And so that's like a little bit of a orange peel, that kind of bitterness going on, like a oiliness, bitter sweetness combined with that fruitiness, fermented flavor. It gives you a nice, complex, fruity whiskey. I'm not that familiar, or not that I don't want to say fond of. I haven't found many great Canadian whiskies yet, and this one is pretty good. It's pretty good. I like it. If it would have an age statement, it would be really good. But it doesn't taste very old, so it's probably not a very old whiskey. And it's incredibly fruity, so I don't know. I like it. It's a little bit too fresh, fruity for me. A little bit too forward. But if you're into that, then we might as well grab one of these, because it's quite a nice whiskey. And there are not many Canadian whiskies out on the market anymore. They've been hit with the prohibition pretty hard, and we haven't seen such a big rise as in Scotland or in America with the old distilleries. Yeah, that was it. If you found this video interesting, then please feel free to share this video with your friends, and see you next time.